Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 223 of the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. It's good to get back to like a regular episode. We had the preview and the recap, and boy, what an episode we're back with, because this is not only one of my favorite movies I've seen definitely all year, but in a while, and it's just amazing. And the fact that we got hold of the filmmakers, well, as you'll know, it's only two of the four of family members here that make these amazing films, and that's, of course, if you haven't guessed it now, we're going to discuss Hellbender. Came on Shudder this year, and it's by Addams Family Films or / Wonder Reel Productions. They are a family of filmmakers, and that is like, the description of them as a family of filmmakers, as you'll hear in the interview, you couldn't have been more descriptive, because they literally, all of them, they all write, direct, star, edit. And wait till you hear this interview, you get such an insight of how everyone is a part of it. It's not just, okay, you direct, you write, you do. No, it is a full-on family affair, and it is just, we were so excited to get to talk to them, so you'll hear that coming up, because it is a fantastic interview.
Yeah, when Brian told me he had actually gotten them to come on, I was so excited. We do a lot of interviews, and I'm excited for all of our guests when we were able to schedule an interview. But this, I was just particularly excited because I love this movie so much. I was really, really impressed by it, and they lived up to every expectation I had. They're just super down to earth, super nice people, and I just had a blast talking to them. I think you guys are going to really, really love this interview. I know we say that about all of our interviews.
I know. People are like, all right, we got it.
I really mean it. I really mean it.
Yeah.
These guys are just incredible.
Yeah, they're so fun. So great to talk to.
All right, well, let's get right into it. This is our first chop. All right, Brian, not much for me, of course, because we've both been traveling and hitting the con circuit and then having to come back and try to catch back up with work and everything. But I did manage to watch some screeners we got from Shudder. They sent us the first, at the time of this recording, they've sent us the first 4 episodes of Cursed Films 2. The first 2 episodes, actually, by the time you guys hear this, all 4 of these episodes will be out on Shudder, so go check them out. But, we really liked the first Cursed Films season on Shudder. And it's just, these short documentaries about films that were supposedly cursed or have had bad luck associated with them. And I really liked this first season, although I felt it was a little uneven. Because, some of the films were like obviously cursed, like the Exorcist or whatever. But
yeah.
I shouldn't say obviously cursed. The conventional wisdom says they're cursed or whatever.
Allegedly
cursed. But I thought in season 1 that sometimes they were trying a little too hard to convince you that these were actually cursed films, or they were really trying to pad out what made these films quote unquote cursed. And that was where I think the unevenness came in. With season 2, I think they've really started to dial in the formula where they're not trying so hard to make this, totally about cursed films. Like the first episode is Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
So they're not even trying to stick to horror. They're just making interesting features about these movies and some of the crazy things that happen. And I think without that pressure of them trying to convince you that it's a curse and trying to fit it into that box and just tell you like this is a film that had all these crazy things happen, I think it's just made the series so much better. I've really, really enjoyed this second season more than the first, because I feel like they're not handcuffing themselves to that cursed film moniker as tightly.
And they almost actually in some of the scenarios, like especially in the Wizard of Oz one, they almost like debunk the fact that it's cursed and come up with a real reason in some scenes, which I like. It's like, I think they realize it's like, okay, we can't just, not every film is cursed. And just because, and you could literally probably say that about any movie that had a bad luck accident on set. So it's like, I think what they did is they kind of realized that, and they just said, you know what, we're going to take films that supposedly had, you know, people might have thought there was a, you know, it was cursed or bad luck on it, but kind of just show you, you know, things about it rather than worry about the quote unquote proverbial curse it had on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, The Wizard of Oz was interesting because, you know, of course, one of my favorite movies. And I like that they had the theme park characters kind of talk about it. And they said all the thing, you know, the cool little behind the scenes stuff and the you know, what happened to Judy Garland. And, you know, there was just a lot of, if you're a fan of The Wizard of Oz, I mean, you know, you should watch this just for that, because there's a lot of good stuff that I thought I knew almost everything about that movie because I've watched it ever since I was a kid. And I found out at least a handful of new facts on that movie. So yeah, I was definitely impressed with the way they started this season.
That might be my favorite episode of this entire series. Season 1 or season 2 was that Wizard of Oz episode. I thought it was fantastic. So
yeah, no, that's definitely. I think it's definitely my favorite. I think the nod right under it is the Twilight Zone one, because I wanted to, you know, I've always been fascinated by the whole the legal aspect of the trial with what happened. You know, there was a lot into that. So that, if you notice, that episode kind of started to kind of go the way that this season went. I think that was the last episode, wasn't it? Or
yeah, it was.
So it kind of like, I think maybe almost towards the end of the season, they kind of veered towards this newish format a little bit. So,
but yeah, highly recommended. And this first season is still fantastic. So don't not
we're
watch
not knocking it.
Yeah, we're not knocking the first season. It was good. I'm just saying the second season so far to me is even better, which is high praise, because I love the first season as well. And Brian, so you have continued on to your Amityville project, and boy, I got my hats off to you. You watched a bunch of probably terrible Amityville films.
Yeah, and now granted, this is over the course of about a month or so, because I'm trying to go really quickly so I can catch up. I do not want to have to purchase Amityville Vibrator, which is coming up on my list, and it happens to be on Troma now, so I'm trying to get through there while I still have the Troma service, because I already had to renew it once. And I really not that it's a bad service. I just, you know, there's too many streaming services out there. I can't. I can't, you know, I don't want another one on there. So I'm just trying to use this one and try and watch as much as I can. I mean, there's great stuff on Troma site. Don't let me get wrong. All their movies are on there. And there's some I wanted to see on there anyway that I'll probably watch. But main reason I wanted to get this, because that's where Amityville Vibrator is the only place I think it's streaming. And, yeah, I really don't want to have to spend money on that. We had a whole running joke with Emily on that one, where we have to, like, she was laughing that I might have to purchase that. And we were joking where I was like, I would have to put like little beads over that section of the monolith.
That's right,
that
yeah.
movie.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's why I'm wearing it. So I tried to rush and get through that, and some of these I'll go through them quick. So the first one, and now granted, these were all around the same year. So, you know, the way I do it is I do it chronologically by year. So when I'm in the said year, I don't always know which came out first. I'm not going in that depth. It's a year. But I did watch, there are two in here that are actually pseudo kind of sequels to each other. Which I mean, it's like that's the thing with this franchise. It's hilarious. It's like there's these little like groupings of the lesser Amityville films, and that are connecting to each other in there. So it's like there's like the original universe, the what do they call it? The Cursed trilogy, the Object little box set, and then like I don't even know. I need to come up with a good name for this one. I don't know, but anyway. So the first one on my list was Amityville No Escape, which is I think it's the third one that has this found footage element out of all the Amityville films, but it's kind of pseudo found footage. So what I mean by that is, I mean, it definitely has the found footage tropes to it, but it's also kind of got dual movies going on. So it's about this guy, and he grants his group of friends, and they're going out to film an experiment on what is fear. But at the same time, I guess there's this tape that you're watching made where a girl, I guess, I don't know where her husband/boyfriend is. I don't know if he's in the military or something, but he's not there. So she's making these home videos for him that she apparently sends him, and she's moved into the Amityville house. And so she's moving and she's restoring it, and things kind of happen. So as you're going through, it's like interspersing with this guy's project, this video project of What is Fear, where they're all out camping, versus interspersed with this woman's found footage videotape she's sending to her, I assume, military boyfriend slash husband. So, and it's so funny because it's so like dorky. Like there's parts where she does this like, she's like, I'm gonna do my like aerobic routine, and she's just like flailing around. It's very awkward and weird. And there's multiple versions of this film, varying on scenes of nudity that was cut in and cut out. Like there's like, it's very odd in the beginning, I guess, before they really get into the movie, when they, the typical found movie footage setup when they're like picking the people up that are going to be going on this journey. Yeah, definitely. It's like that. Then he goes to his I guess the guy goes to his girlfriend's house or something. Or no, sorry. He goes to the cameraman they got goes to the house to pick up the guy, his girlfriend, and his sister, and he gets his sister coming out of the shower, and then the other girlfriend's topless in the pool, and it's like just such an added in scene. It's kind of funny, but there's versions where it's cut out. Apparently, because I did some research, because I remember I watched it on YouTube and everyone kept saying, well, where's the nude scene in this? And I'm like, wait a minute, did I not watch like the real version of it? Is there a cut? Because I always like to watch the full uncut version. Yeah, of course, something. Yeah. So I eventually forgot somehow I tracked another version down that had I guess supposedly all the scenes in it. But then I think there's another one where it's like only one of the nude scenes. I don't know. It's weird, but I'm basing this all by the comments. I did not go spend that much time. I know it sounds like I did this intensive research thing. It was just literally on some of the comments on YouTube. I pieced this together that apparently there are 3 versions out there streaming, but I think because they're all on YouTube, I don't know which is the official version, if there maybe is only one version, and whoever had it on YouTube cut it. So God only knows. It's not even worth this much discussion, although this was one of the more watchable ones because I do enjoy found footage. So if you give me even a bad found footage movie, I could pretty much enjoy at some level because I just like that found footage-y aspect. And this one was like had some silly parts in it that was fun, and the twist and the supposed twist ending I thought was very particular. I kind of figured that was going to happen. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I've been watching too many Amityville movies or too many found footage movies or whatever it is, the combo of the two. But either way, this one's not as bad. This is definitely, out of all of the quote-unquote bad Amityville films, this one is probably one of the better of those. Okay, the next one I watched, and this is apparently this is the two that are connected, Amityville Toy Box, where it's basically a cursed antique toy monkey from the original DeFeo home wreaks havoc and possesses a father after being gifted during the annual family reunion. And there's something with this one, this sequel, and another one I just watched at the last one I watched, what I'll mention here, where these bad Amityville films, I feel like there's a couple of people that repeat in these movies, and I feel like they're supposed to be different ages, but I think they're all the same age. But like one guy literally looks like the same age as this woman who's supposedly his daughter in it. So they just, there's no like rhyme or reason to these things. But anyway. So that one was this was one of those kind of like filmed on video ones. It's just really bad acting and bad that. And
but probably has an amazing poster.
It did, yeah, of course. They all do. That's the thing. That all the Amityville movies, I will say, have incredible posters that make you think, well, maybe this one's going to be okay. The next one, so there is a sequel, pseudo sequel. It's called Amityville. Wait, where is it? I lost the name. Sorry, Amityville Clown House. That's right. So that was Toy Box. This is Amityville Clown House. And I guess because there is a clown element in it, because the guy dressed up as a clown and killed his family in the beginning. But again, it's somehow this monkey toy from Amityville Toy Box makes an appearance, and the guy buys it, and and then it starts possessing his girlfriend. And this is the one that showed absolutely no respect to poor Mark Patton, who was gracious enough to be in this film, and they literally play the music so loud over his dialogue you can hardly hear it. And as Tim and I know, we just told you in our last episode, he's very soft-spoken. Yes. He's very quiet, very calm, and so, you know what, this was like, I don't know if it was like who edited this thing, but I'm like, did you not want him to speak because you drowned him out essentially in this? And it was you cannot do that to our friend Mark Patton because Mark Patton is a treasure in the horror community in this world, and that made me even angrier, especially after then I met him and like reflected back to this saying like, why did they do that to him? Anyway, so then the next one I saw was Amityville Prison, aka Against the Night, which this one's interesting. Most of the time it's now referred to as exclusively as Against the Night. However, when I first did the research, it was Amityville Prison. So, but this one you can find on Tubi. It is under Against the Night, and it's a group of friends sneak into abandoned prison with the intention of making a ghost hunting video until they start to go missing one by one. And this one actually has Frank Whaley in it. So, yeah, look at the bad casting on Brett there. Little Pulp Fiction restaurant. Yeah, but he's managed to do this movie. I don't know why. But this one again is not the worst out of the bad ones. It's watchable, but it's very ghost hunting esque type of movie. You know, like one of those ones where, you know, tries to mimic a ghost hunter where this guy goes in there and they set up all these cameras in the prison.
Which I'm a sucker for because I like all the ghost hunting shows.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, that's why it's watchable, because you know what? If you can watch those Ghost Hunter ones, this one is purely watchable. And I think this one at least did the smart thing. This one said, okay, you know what? Why is this called Amityville Prison? I mean, I think in the movie they mention Amityville a couple times, but again, this one's not supposed to be really. It's like this one's trying to separate it. So I guess that's why they changed the title from an Amityville title to Against the Night. Then the final one I saw, and good God, this one, Amityville Exorcism. This is another god-awful one. This one just tries to rip off The Exorcist in so many ways. It's just like, and one of the guys I think that's in this ends up reappearing later in Amityville, Amityville Island, that one with the shark prison, with the one that just takes every
shark prison. Yes,
it is. It's like there's a shark somewhere in there, but it really takes place more to prison. That one should have been called Amityville Prison because a shark is not very in it. This is so weird. But anyway, I recognize the guy from that, and that's what's bad when I know I'm starting to see the casting again. But this one was just, it was so, like, they were literally scenes ripped out of The Exorcist just trying to put into this.
Oh my god.
Where like the woman gets possessed, you know, and she's sitting in the bed and going, F you, brother, F you, man. And I'm like, oh, come on. Really? Could you at least make it another type of exorcism? But yeah, so that's where I'm at now. I think I have a few more to go before the fated Amityville Vibrator. And, you know, I have to say, I showed Tim the list of what's coming after Amityville Vibrator, and you would have thought that was the low point, but it is not.
No, that's not the worst.
That is actually not the lowest point, apparently, what I have coming to me. So I have like 30 plus left. But anyway, yeah. Jeez. So that's where I am. I'll try and get a few knocked off again, because the faster I finish this project, the better for my soul and sanity. And yeah.
You know, that made me think of what could be a fun little feature for our first chop. Is and I don't know if you're down for it. This is on the fly, guys. I have not even mentioned this to Brian yet. I just came up with this. I was wondering if we could do something like, you know, Tubi is such a treasure trove of the weird, obscure movies. What might be a fun project is I pick a movie for Brian and he picks a movie for me from the Tubi catalog.
Oh, I love it.
And then we each have to watch it and give their review on the next first chop. How about that?
I love it, actually. I think that is a great idea.
I think that would be hilarious.
Should we call it Tubi Dooby Doo? Where are you? No.
I was like, or down the Tubi. I don't know. I don't know what we'll call it. But if you guys come up with a name, let us know. But I think I'm going to do that for next episode.
I like it. I love that idea, actually, because, yeah, the stuff that I found on Tubi, I mean, that's where I found the COVID Killer. That movie.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And you know, me and Brian are it's going to be like SNL when Michael Che and Colin Jost make each other read their jokes. It's going to be like that. Because me and Brian are going to pick the most weird, obscure movies for each other to watch. I think it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah. We will, and I say this as a good friend to Tim. I am going to be relentless and try and find the weirdest damn thing for you to watch.
Oh, I can't wait! I'm excited about this.
I know this may be one of my favorite ideas that has ever come out of the show. It's going to be so good because Toby really does have just the strangest, like they have everything, but that's why I love about them, because they are truly the streaming service of requirement. Because whenever we need something, it seems to always end up there, but then they give you this bonus of like 400 other movies that like you've never heard of in your life in horror, and it's so great.
You know what Tubi reminds me of, really, and I think it's the reason I love it, is because it does remind me of going into the video store, the mom and pop video store back in the 80s, and looking at all the horror covers, not knowing a single thing about any of these movies. Not a thing. You're going purely by the cover, and you can only pick one. And you're having to go through there, and your mom's letting you rent one horror movie, and you don't know what to pick. And you just see this sea of just weird stuff. I think that's what it reminds me of. I think that's the appeal of it. So I think the only obviously rule is that it's got to be from the horror category, of course. Oh yeah, obviously yes, it has to be horror for sure. But yeah,
but speaking of, by the way, I just want to say, speaking of in a positive movie review that I want to say, remember we raved about that movie Night Drive that we loved with that is now on Tubi for those who have not seen it yet. The one with AJ Bowen and Sophie Dalla, that one we loved.
Yeah, that's a great
That's
one.
on Tubi for everybody who has not seen it. I highly recommend it. That was one of my favorites we saw last year.
Yeah, that was great. So. All right, so let's get to our interview with the Addams family, Toby Poser and John Addams. And this one, again, like I said, I was so excited for this interview because I absolutely love these films. Now, as much as I loved Hellbender, going back and watching The Deeper You Dig, I was like equally impressed. And I know they say they try to get better with every movie. I loved both of these films. I thought they were fantastic. And I think you guys are going to love this interview. Now, I want to preface it by saying we've alluded to this in other episodes, but we had some technical difficulties with this one because the night we were recording, there was really bad weather up and down the East Coast, and it was hitting really hard where they were. And so we had some internet issues. And quite frankly, I think there were internet issues on both sides because mine was getting spotty as well.
It was like spotty all around. It was just like, it wasn't, I don't think it was just their side.
No.
They kept taking the blame for it, but I'm like, you know what? It's pouring near me. It was even bad near you.
Yeah, it was bad here too. I mean, the wind
That's
was
how far this storm reached. From literally North Carolina all the way up to the East Coast up here.
So we had so there was a little bit of spottiness there. So I tried to do the best I could with the audio for the first half of the interview because there was some kind of some volume differences and stuff. So just bear with us on that. And then eventually their internet went out completely. So we decided rather than force them, poor souls, they were volunteering to drive in the pouring rain to another place. Yeah. I was like, no, you're not going to do that. I'm not going to get you in a wreck for our little interview. So we decided just to reschedule. So we rescheduled it until after we came back from the convention. So we're going to piece together the second part of that interview with the first half.
You probably won't notice.
You won't notice. Yeah. You probably won't notice. But we just made it into one continuous interview. We took the second half and pieced the last couple questions there. And I thought it turned out really, really wonderful. And I really enjoyed talking to them. They're just supremely talented people and very, very kind to come on our show. And I will definitely be promoting anything they have going forward, which you will hear in this interview, some hints as to what they have coming up next. So let's get right into it. Our interview with Addams Family Productions. All right, guys, we are super excited to have with us tonight the creators of the amazing new film Hellbender, Addams Family Films / Wonder Wheel Productions, John Addams and Toby Poser. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Tim and Brian. Thanks for having us.
Yep. Thank you so much. We're excited to talk to you guys.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
You have no idea how excited we are to talk to you because, as Tim will mention, we're massive fans of Hellbender. And then we saw The Deeper You Dig, and you probably saw my posts on we posted on Twitter that we're major fans now of what you as a family and production company are doing. So we could not be more excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, I just watched The Deeper You Dig yesterday and absolutely blown away. I absolutely loved it. As we did Hellbender, which you'll find out in the show because that's the film we are featuring for this episode. Yep. So you'll hear plenty of our fanboyism on that one. So before we get into Hellbender, though, could you please tell our listeners about kind of how you guys got into filmmaking and became this filmmaking family?
Sure. So in 2010, we were living in Los Angeles for a couple years. John had been on this rock and roll reality show, which brought us out there. And I had gone out there to continue my acting. And, eventually we reached a place where we thought, why should we wait for others to offer us the kind of work, the kind of creative lifestyle we would like? So we thought, let's take the kids, buy an old rickety RV, hit the road for a year, make our first film and see how we dig it. And we dug it, and we just have never stopped. The girls were 6 and 11 by then, and Hellbender was our 6th feature.
That's so impressive to me. Because I mean, it's like here, like, I joke. Anyone I've been telling this movie about, I said, you have to understand, this is like one family that makes these incredible movies. I said, I look at my family who can't even decide on like dinner what to eat, and you guys are all together and making these great feature films. So it's like,
still can't decide on dinner, actually. So
okay, that makes me feel a little better. You guys aren't good at everything,
because together, but we can't decide on dinner.
Yeah, I was watching the credits to The Deeper You Dig, and I'm sitting there going, it's the same names, written by, produced by, directed by, everything was in you guys' family. And it's amazing to me because those films, not to take anything away from low budget indie films, because Brian and I watch a ton of those, but you kind of sort of have an expectation going in as to what a low budget indie film is going to look like, and these films do not look anything constrained by the small number of people that are making them. I mean, they look amazing, and it just blows me away when I realize you guys are doing the writing and the directing and the producing and the everything else. It's really, really, really cool.
Well, that's a huge compliment. It just means everything to us when people like you watch our films and think that we're like giving you good cinematography and good editing. That's important. We learn with every single movie that we make, and it's like criticism does not fall on deaf ears over here. And compliments don't either. And you kind of combine the two of them, and you try to hear what people are enjoying. You try to continue doing that. And you also try to hear what people think we could improve on. And we talk a lot about that kind of thing too. So if you're enjoying it, that's great. It means everything to us.
I'm a real big stickler for pacing, and a lot of, and I keep saying low budget. I don't want to use that as kind of a negative term, because it's not. Brian and I are huge supporters of indie film and low budget films, and we kind of go out of our way to support them. But a lot of times there's pacing issues, there's editing issues, there's you kind of have to smooth over that while you're watching it. And one thing I really like about both of these films that I watched of yours is you give the scenes some time to breathe. They're not necessarily wall-to-wall action. There's pauses to allow people to see the characters' reactions and things, but it never feels slow-paced. I mean, these movies never drag. That was one of the things that really struck me while watching The Deeper You Dig and Hellbender is that's a very hard balance to pull off, is to keep the movie flowing, pacing, done correctly, but also give the characters time and the scenes time to play out. So hats off to you on that one.
Thank you. That is really great to hear, because it's important for us to make movies that are not just about one thing that leads to the other. We really like to get to the core of the story, which means getting to know the characters and those small little private moments that make up a lifetime or a day or an hour. And so they're important to us, and we always know we have to be careful to make sure they help animate the story, just not in a very active way, those moments, but that they're intrinsic parts of the action of the film. So anyway, thank you so much for saying that.
But we like to do stuff like, it's fun because we want, like, I love cutting somebody's head off. It's like we want to cut somebody's head off, but it's like, you know, Toby definitely is like, okay, but we're gonna have to figure out why we gonna cut somebody's head off. And those are those quiet moments, you know what I mean? Those are the quiet moments that allow you to cut somebody's head off. And when I watch movies, I love quiet moments, and I love watching somebody get their head cut off. And the combination of those two things is what's fun. That actually, you know, there's so many genres in horror. That's the genre I like when I really feel the character. I feel for the character. Do you know, like I like all kinds of horror, but I really like the ones where I feel emotionally attached to the characters that are having violence done to them, or whatever it is, or doing violence even. You know, it's like, that's what makes movies fun.
I think you guys certainly have an advantage being a family, because that's the kind of chemistry you cannot fake. And it really comes across on the screen, you know, the relationships you guys have. That's another thing that I think really sets you guys apart from a lot of other filmmakers, is you see this chemistry right up there on screen, and that kind of provides that. I was telling Brian, Hellbender just had this grittiness, this realism to it that you don't see a lot because it can't be faked. And I think your chemistry kind of helps cement that.
Thanks. You know, another thing that's convenient too is that we often shoot in places where we actually live or visit because our sister-in-law lives there, or our John's parents live. And so there's something about being able to move into those places that are already set with the grime and dust and spider webs of real life. And I think those tiny little details, whether you see them or they're just subliminal, I think they help enrich a story. And we definitely have a lot of that in our films, because sometimes we can literally roll out our doorway and we're shooting right there.
Also, it's really great that you saw The Deeper You Dig last night, because one of the things that we had learned from The Deeper You Dig was, one of the criticisms we got was people said, oh, I really would have liked to have seen the mother-daughter relationship develop just a little more. And that was something that we really took to heart. And it was like, well, that's great. I mean, because we can make a whole movie about these two, because they are great friends. They are in a band together. They do have this interesting chemistry. So that brought us to Hellbender. Was, you know, we talked about that a lot. And we were like, we should, you know, make a movie about Zelda and Toby. And so we talked a lot about, well, what could we do? And, you know, we had a band called Hellbender, and things just kind of fell into place there.
That's great. Yeah. And so I love that you guys, you know, that you both love horror, because it does come out, because you could tell when horror filmmakers that really just absolutely love the genre go together. So, and of course, you know, I know you've done other films, but, you know, Hellbender and Deeper You Dig are, of course, the ones that, like, through our horror community, that's the ones we constantly see talked about. So I know you are horror fans always, but were you always, when you wanted to get into films, where you're like, okay, we got to make horror movies, definitely horror movies? Or did you go into it just saying, well, we'll make movies, and if horror comes out of it, we'll do that?
It's a cool question, because our very first film was meant to be a horror film. It was a gritty and really kind of brutal ghost story. And this was in 2010. Zelda was 6 and Lulu was 11. And John had to kill the kids in it. And we actually set out that year in the RV. We started making the movie. And after a couple weeks, we were driving, and John's like, Toby, man, I don't know. I just don't want to kill the kids. And I was like, I don't want to kill the kids either. So it turned into a drama. And then we made a couple more dramas.
Script change.
But I don't think we ever lost that itch. I think it just, we found ourselves doing that to kind of get our feet wet. But I don't think we ever lost, like, the verve to make a horror film. And when we were ready, we did.
Yeah, and we danced with horror in all of our dramas. Like, I think we always, I know I always did. I think we always wanted to do a horror movie, but I think that we weren't ready. And when we were finally ready, it was really fun. And I don't think we're going to go back, you know, because horror is just so fun. It's such a great way to do art. You have so much creative space in the horror world that you just don't, or at least we didn't ever feel we had in the drama world.
Yeah, well,
No.
I for one, please hope you still continue it because
Yes.
because as a fan, it's like Tim and I, see, because I think you somehow hit the magic niche that Tim and I love in our movies. Like I think Toby, you had said, and I saw another interview that you had done, when we wanted to prepare, and you had mentioned The Witch, which Tim and I were so pro The Witch all the time, and so many people had issues with it. I'm like, then you just don't get it. I don't know what you're looking for, but this was, to me, that's the kind of horror we like. Like, we love that slow burn, but then that pays off, and that just, it's so, the sets, the setting is great, and the acting, just everything about that to me makes, I mean, we're big just Robert Eggers fans anyway, but it's, I mean, to me, that was like, that's the kind of thing, and I felt you guys represented similar to that feel. And then so I was like, I think I had seen Hellbender right before Tim, and I'm like, Tim, you got to see it. Don't the next movie you watch has got to be this, because I know we know each other now for a while, and we know what kind of movies that we'll like. And so I told him right away, I said, oh no, you got to see this one now. Make this the next one you watch.
Yeah, we're big fans of that folk horror stuff.
Yeah, and The Witch. Oh well, yeah. Don't even get me started on that. But I'm with you, like, huge fan of that.
Yeah, that was a great film to see in the theater, because watching the audience reactions, like half the people loved it and half the people absolutely hated it. It was so divisive,
which is cool. Which is kind of cool too, because then you've made something that isn't so safe that everyone can just like love it. I like that.
We're very much starting to understand that that's a high compliment. Yeah. That half the people think it sucks and half the people think it's wonderful, and we're starting to realize that's kind of the goal, because it's like all the movies that I love, like we love Midsommar. We love like there's just so many movies that, like, and when you go online and you look, like, people are like, that movie sucked, or but no, it's genius, and so it's that's a high compliment.
I mean, movies are meant to elicit an emotion, right? I mean, you want a feeling from it, whether good or bad. If someone made it, they hated a movie so bad that they felt compelled to do it, that's still kind of, like you said, a compliment, because it's like, wow, you made them feel anger now. It's like whatever you did, you did something.
So I talked earlier about how you guys are doing the directing, the writing, everything. Do you consciously kind of split those roles up, or does that kind of just organically happen?
It kind of organically happens. So we all have different strengths. Like, some of us have definite strengths in some areas than others. And so we've just, after so many, we're on our 7th feature now. After working together that long, you start to just kind of like, it's become a sort of well-oiled machine. Like, we were just out shooting today real fast, and you just kind of know, like, who's going to be better with the camera. It's going to be John and Zelda. Who's going to be better with knowing what's happening chronologically? That's going to be me. The little kind of literary details I love. Who's going to make sure it happens fast? John. Who's going to make sure it also looks exquisite and has some movement in it? Zelda. It's just very natural now. And if we don't, like, when it comes to directing it, since now Zelda's directing with us, if we all have different opinions, we just do it 3 different ways. It's not a problem at all, because then we edit every night after we've shot. So by looking at it, then we realize what suits the story best. That always rises to the top. And if we didn't nail it, we go back and shoot it, which happens a lot. Again, we shoot it again.
That's awesome. Tim and I are always so fascinated about different filmmakers' processes. I have to say, yours is the best interest. It's like, you know what? We can't decide. Let's do all 3, and we'll see what it's like. That's a great way to do it. And I love, because that's probably what as part of that magic touch that we might be able to verbalize, because that way you're all such a part of it, and you're all giving your best pieces to everything in it. And that's like, you guys, I know, like I told you, I said, you're going to get a lot of compliments through this night. So I apologize for if it's too many.
No, that's
we
wonderful.
appreciate
But
it.
from an editing point of view, that point is really cool because, we'll be out in the grass, like just now, we were just shooting and everybody had an opinion about what to do with what we were just doing. And it was kind of like, cool, just grab the camera and just tell them what to do, and it is funny because sometimes I'll listen to like maybe Toby's opinion on how an actor should act or what they should do. And I'll think, I don't think that's right, but we're going to shoot it because we can. And it's amazing how the right clip just shows itself, so you can disagree with something in the field, and then when it comes home and you look at it in the grand scheme of things, you're like, oh my god, yeah, of course, like I'm so glad that you did that because I was way off base, or and it happens to all of us. So it is, at this point, we all very much know if somebody has an opinion, shoot that shit because they're probably right.
We're also still I would like to think that everyone is learning, even when they've made 30 feature films. But because we definitely are learning and trying to evolve with each film, it helps to have the three of us back each other up. Because sometimes we need the help.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to cover each other's bases and or we say, I don't know what's going on here, help me out. Or what am I doing? Is my acting okay here? Help me out. So the three of us, it's very wonderful to have the trust within each other, not only because we're family, but because we've been creating together for so long. It's wonderful to have to trust each other that way and know, like, if I don't know what's going on, you're gonna give me the scoop, man.
Well, as we were saying, you guys have the magic touch. You also perfectly segued into our next question, actually, on among your other talents. So you kind of touched on that you learn lessons from each film. What are some of the one, and you applied to the next one? I know you'd mentioned one earlier. Are there any other ones that you feel that were really integral into that you learned on a film that you really pushed towards the next one?
Yeah, so the biggest and hardest and most painful, but the best, most priceless lesson that we learned was we did a movie called The Shoot. And what was it, our third or
yes,
second? Our third movie. And the lesson that we learned was we got ahead of ourselves. We tried to do something bigger than our tools. And it's not a bad movie, but it's not a good movie either. And like we had said before, we either want people to be like, I loved it or I hated it, but not, oh yeah, I saw it. And that's what happened with that movie. And it was a very, very painful lesson because we put a lot of money, we always put our own money into our movie. So we had invested a lot of, to us it was a lot of money, and we really spent a lot of time, and we hired a lot of actors, and we worked really hard. But we did not succeed, and it really showed us, and we still follow that rule. Only shoot what is in your wheelhouse. Like, only do what's in your wheelhouse. Don't get out of that doesn't mean don't try to expand your artistic desires, but just do it naturally and organically. Don't you think that was our lesson? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I do. And also, with the deeper you dig, with Hellbender, we had a much bigger production in mind, and then the pandemic kind of went down, and we were kind of forced to go back to our more intimate roots, which was a fucking good thing. I'm not saying that the pandemic has been good, but for us, we realized right away, again, we were gonna just go beyond our means, I think, and it whittled back to something that was much more intimate, and I think good for us and the story in the long run.
Yeah, we might have got spanked if we had done what we were doing, and it's cool because we didn't get spanked.
Well, it's interesting you said that because I was thinking the same thing. There was a movie we covered recently, and one of the criticisms I had of it that I told Brian was, I feel like this movie is being constrained by its cast and its budget. I feel like they're wanting to tell a bigger story, but they're constrained and they can't tell that story, and you can see it. You can see it on the screen. Yeah. And with you guys' movies, I never had that feeling because the locations, the actors, the story, everything feels like it's supposed to fit in the box that it's in. So when you said that, that's what I really, really picked up on.
you just said the word box, and we talk a lot about playing in our sandbox, and we are trying to add more sand to our sandbox, but in a smart way, or in a natural way, in an organic way. And so it's really important to us. And now, now that the Hellbender's done, we're doing another movie called Where the Devil Roams, where we've added some more sand to the sandbox, but we're being very careful not to, not to pour too much sand in, because it's like we want to now we know how to play in the Hellbender box. Now let's just add some more sand and play in the Where the Devil Roams box, and just try to inch that scope out. Just keep the scope building in a good, fun way, because it's got to be fun. I think that's wildly important to us, is that we are laughing our way through all these things.
Very nice. Well, I wanted to give you guys a chance, because we want to talk about Hellbender, because that is your latest film that's been released. So kind of tell us about, what challenges did you face? You filmed this during the pandemic. What were some of the issues you ran into?
It's funny, speaking of the pandemic, so Lulu, we were had the good fortune to work with our older daughter, Lulu, who plays Amber, in the film again, because she had been off to college and then was studying abroad, so she missed some of our film productions, and she was living in the Northwest, and because the pandemic, sort of like a 10-year anniversary, it felt like, from making our first film, Rumble Strips, we again bought an RV and we traveled around the country during the pandemic, because Zelda was remote schooling anyway, so we're like, hey, let's hit the road again. It works for us. And so while we were in the Northwest for a few months, we got to work with Lulu again. But because she taught at a school, was around a lot of kids, and we were taking COVID seriously, we had to social distance with her, which was really kind of strange. There's that moment in Hellbender when Izzy first meets Amber and she moves the chair away from her. And she's like, I can't get close to people. And Amber says, none of us can. That was, there was some truth behind that. Like, Zelda just didn't want to be that close to Lulu. And Lulu was like, we're all going through it. So that was just like one technical challenge.
I think one of the challenges that we had is, so we work with another wonderful artist named Trey Lindsay, who does like our special effects. And we live only 45 minutes away from him because of the pandemic, and because we actually started living in a trailer and driving around, we weren't anywhere near him, and that separated us a lot, and it became a little bit of a challenge because we had to figure out how to shoot things on our own to affect them, and that was a cool learning experience. At first it was kind of daunting, but then it became kind of a fun learning experience, and it forced us into some creative decisions, because we didn't have Trey just sitting right with us all the time. We had to make some creative decisions all on our own, because we were out. And that was, it was positive, actually. A lot of the kind of book visions and stuff were the result of not being close enough to Trey, and so we had to come up with some editing choices that I think helped us learn a lot.
And I'll just add something too on that note, because this is a challenge for us, is we're constantly trying to figure out what can we do effects wise, that it's very easy to get ahead of yourself and just feel like, well, I want this to happen and I want that to happen, like with Hellbender. Originally we thought, they're going to be like, have these huge serpent jaws that can unhinge like a snake and like drop to the fucking floor, so people could like walk into it. They could eat dogs, they could eat babies. And for a while we tried to shoot that shit. Like, we had fake babies from Walmart and it looked so bad. I mean, when they were like great, hanging from fishing twine, like Zelda had the kind of levitating, and then she'd be like, how, and we open her mouth, and we got these dummies made that their jaws could open, but it just was so bad. And we realized, what, we're just trying to force something. I wanted in the end her to take Amber, like I wanted the mother and Izzy to confront each other and have this big battle. And that I thought, oh, you know what? She can take like a sliver of Amber's bone and poke a needle in it with her like sharp claw, and and then use like the guts as thread. So cool.
That's awesome.
And it would, but maybe I have to write about it in a young adult novel.
And then I have to say, that is really cool, Toby. Now picture yourself filming it.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been great. I mean, it was already great, but like it was. So now you must just like that'll be, you should put that stuff for Hellbender too. Hopefully they'll be. But
yes, right, exactly.
A comic book. It would be really good.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There you go.
And Tim's a big comic book guy, so he would definitely buy that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So all right, so we definitely need to talk about the music from Hellbender, because I mean, this movie, as great as it was, the music was just absolutely phenomenal. The score too, but I mean, the music really, like, the band elements of it is cool. And I know, so you guys had a band, the Hellbender, before this movie, right? And first of all, I have to compliment you, Tim, and I love logos and cool tricks and stuff like that. So I love the 6s in there instead of the E's, which is like right up our alley for cool things like that. So what can you tell us about the process of creating the songs and the score? Because it was, I mean, like I got that one song with the in my head. Oh God, I can't think of the name of it, but I'll let you go first, then I'll tell you the song I was talking about.
Well, the music is just so fun for us. Me and the girls each had our own bands together. I had a band with Lulu when she was a little kid. It was called the Hot Roses. And then Zelda was like, I want to be in a band. So Zelda and I had a band. And actually, Zelda and I's band, Lulu and I played out a bunch in New York City when she was a kid. And then Zelda and I played out a bunch because she kind of took it further. She started playing drums, and she was really into the whole music thing. And Zelda and I went from being a band called Kid California to being a band called Hellbender. And when we became Hellbender, Toby and Lulu both were kind of like, well, we want to sing again too. So they started singing, and the three of their voices just work magically together. They come from the same DNA, so there's that, but they all have different sounding voices. And basically Zelda's kind of demonic angelic voice laid over Lulu and Toby just really works well. And in terms of like the kind of music we write, it's definitely, everybody has their input of what they like. We spin each other a lot of tunes. And so like an example is Zelda brought Courtney Barnett into the mix. There's this wonderful rock star named Courtney Barnett who's got the most clever lyrics in the world. And it's just like, and I'm always kind of being like, let's do like a Black Flag kind of song. And Zelda's always like, we've already done Black Flag kind of song. So, there's a great, we all have a lot of fun together. And we wanted the music for Hellbender to really bring a lot of fun to the movie. We had made a movie called The Deeper You Dig that was pretty dark, and though a lot of it was funny to us, it didn't have like a lot of fun in it. And so we thought making Toby and Zelda in a band together is fun because we have fun in real life doing it. And I think it paid off. I think people enjoy watching the two of them in their band rehearsing.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool. It's just another element because you found yet another way. And I feel like that's one of your strongest talents. You always find another way to show a relationship in there. And the mother and daughter relationship is just, I feel like it's explored so well in this. And then you found like another level of it with that band and how that's like their thing. And it basically, the whole time without trying to get, I don't want to give a spoiler away, but I think by now people that are going to listen to this are going to probably go see this by now, because I know everyone that I've talked to has seen it, which is good. And the fact that how it's almost like a distraction. It's almost something that how Zelda's character can't go out in that world, but yet instead the mother and daughter create this world of them for themselves, that doesn't have to go out. And I like how that becomes a plot point, how it's Izzy, right? Is the character?
Yes.
Zelda, but yeah. Oh, so when Izzy realizes, like, I want to play for other people now. We're talented. It's like it's that almost like it mirrors like that dilemma of like when any kind of teenager wants to kind of go out and do certain things. And I think it's just one of the brilliant elements. It was the Armageddon song is the one that's caught in my head that I go around like kind of humming, which I love. So, but
I'm so glad you like that song.
Yeah, no, all of them are great. And you could find these on iTunes, I saw, which I have to, I downloaded one of them. I got to download the rest. And yeah, so I think that's what's so key because, it's like, you just have such, there really is like nothing that you guys haven't been able to accomplish. I think it's amazing. You're like talented at every level. I mean, between the writing, the acting, directing, the scenery, the cinematography, it's like it's like I think that's what brings everyone to I know it's what brought me to love the movies that you guys have made, and I think everyone must feel that, whether they realize that's what's bringing them in. It's just all of that talent in there. So sorry, as I said, there's gonna be a lot of cavelling in this interview, as I said early on.
There's gonna be a lot of head exploding then. Yeah, I mean it's super cool. I mean, it's so nice of you to say that. It does mean a ton to us when you say things like that because we want to keep creating, and if other people are having fun with us, then we can keep creating. It's just fuel on the fire. The last thing I would say that was fun about the music was it's also a way to tell a story very quickly and in a non like kind of like overly dramatic way. Like if you listen to the lyrics, a lot of the story is being told. It pushes the story 20 minutes down the road in only 30 seconds. And that's important to us too. So that like the audience isn't like, oh my God, these guys are just talking so much, explaining so much. It's nice that a song can explain a lot in, I don't know, 30 or 40 seconds.
Yeah. And this is a bit of a spoiler. So those who haven't seen it yet, may not want to hear this, but I mean, they might not catch exactly what I'm going for, but there's when I love at the end when, Izzy's really coming into her own and she's becoming, what probably they were trying, you as the mom was trying to prevent, but and she comes up with that line she says, and then she goes, oh no, but it's for a song, what do you think about it? But the one with the I forgot the quote.
Yeah,
I'm not good at the wolf. Yeah, that one. And I'm like, oh wow, it's like I love how she covers it up. It's like, well, no, I meant for the band, when the audience knows, like, okay, no, you really mean this. So I thought that was cool too. So that I like that you said that the music helps bring the story along, because there's almost like hints of foreshadowing if you're astute in there, to pay attention to that. So
I think I mentioned earlier how we talked about the pacing and how great the pacing was in the film. And I think it's because of things like that, where you guys use shorthand to not just have to tell. That's always a respect for the audience, in my opinion. If you can show things on screen and not have to draw it out with a bunch of dialogue and a bunch of kind of respects the audience, that they can read between the lines and figure it out for themselves. So yeah, I really like that as well.
That's a great point, and it's one that we always try to uphold. We're like, oh man, maybe we're explaining too much, or what can we do to, what is something active we can do to get that point across instead. So it's a really good point. Yep.
Yeah, that's what you see a lot of. And again, I don't want to disparage any filmmakers, because they all work hard for what they're doing. But you do see that a lot sometimes with beginning filmmakers and stuff, where they tend to over-explain, or they tend to drag scenes out too long because they're not thinking about how you can shortcut that stuff through telling or showing rather than telling, kind of thing. So.
I'll tell you what really solves that issue. As for the two of us, you always, when you are done editing your movie, like Hellbender, you think you have something, but you don't know jack until you're sitting with an audience watching them watch it. And so this is our seventh or eighth movie. And I'll tell you what, some of those first ones, you're sitting in the audience and like, okay, the next movie, I'm really going to edit a lot. You really learn a painful lesson when you're sitting in the audience and you see people start looking at their phone or looking out the window, you know? Yeah.
Oh my God, one time, I've only taken one screenwriting kind of little seminar. It was a great teacher, and he came to see one of our films, and I was sitting a few rows behind him, and during the film, I saw him fall asleep for like 25 minutes, and I was like, oh, fuck.
That's when you need to crank up the volume.
Yeah.
But it's great. Actually, Toby has a great slogan that she learned somewhere, which is that we try to follow, and I think we're getting better at it, is...
in late and out early.
There you go.
There you go.
Like, you know, how late can you get into a scene so people understand what's happening, and how soon can you get out of it without, you know, dragging it on too long?
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that. So this next one was not even on our rundown. I just wanted to ask because I thought about it between our little break, which we'll explain, you know, why we had a little break in the interview. But Toby, do you have an interest in like tarot and witchcraft and that kind of thing? Because it looks so authentic on screen when you're, you know, reading tarot cards or doing whatever. That was in your other movie. But yeah, do you have an interest in that in real life?
I'm definitely, you know, I didn't know anything about tarot, and once we started researching it for the Deep Dig, I was like, where has this been all my life? I love it because of all the symbolism there. That's so right. You know, it's like the perfect psychology. I mean, psychologists should do tarot readings with their patients because everything just tells a story, you know, and every symbol can kind of open up a world of reflection upon one's life or the world. So I found that I really love discovering that. As far as witchcraft, and yeah, I've kind of lost my voice in the past week since, you know, I'm sorry about that. As far as witchcraft goes, I love that. I mean, I'm not Wiccan or anything, but I have great respect for people who do who do follow that, and I'm really interested in all of the lore and all of the things. You know, I probably would be really into it if I dipped more than my toe into that world.
Trust me, she's a witch and she loves magic. All you guys just come over for dinner and watch her cook, or watch like all these little things that she puts in your drawers and all this stuff. There's a ton of magic going on. There's just no, you know, flying brooms.
Magic can be good. Good magic is good. That's good stuff.
I love it.
Magic, you know, it's like if you believe, it's there. That's the point of it, right?
But I think a lot of magic is really steeped in what is already around us. You just have to open your eyes and see it. You know, like a lot of the magic and the spells in Hellbender, we were just trying to make them as simple as possible, just like almost like through a child's eyes, because children see things so purely. And so we're like, all right, well, you know, if you want to climb trees, what makes your hands sticky? Spider webs, and ivy crawls up trees, so then you can climb them like squirrels. And, you know, mushrooms release spores, and hellbenders are kind of sort of self-reproducing things themselves. So we just thought, let's think about this in this rudimentary, almost crude way. And that was so much fun.
See, that's what I liked. Is you guys had a reason for like every spell using like stuff that anyone could just grab. It's not like some kind of like eye of a newt something from like the top
dug up at midnight. Or,
Ring of that.
Yeah, like it's like literally I could go out like in front of my apartment and like grab the stuff and start climbing walls if I knew how to do that stuff. So to me that was so cool. I love that.
Well, we love camping, so we're out camping a lot. We've camped all our lives with our kids, and one of the things that you notice when you're out in nature a lot, you don't even have to be a camper, but is hidden magic. Like you look at algae and it's this green fluorescent color. It's magic, but how do you harness it? You look at mushrooms and you see the spores blow in the wind. That's magic. There's so much magic, but we don't know how to harness it. And what was fun was to show that how to harness magic, hidden magic, was built in the Hellbender's DNA. And the book demanded that Izzy come harness that magic. So that was a fun thing, to make them make Hellbenders like one slot above humans, that they actually could see hidden magic. The magic that we can't see.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we're a big camp. My wife and I, she used to do this Wilderness Adventures Club when she lived in California. So she got me into camping. I was never a big camper growing up, because my family was like, if we went on a family vacation, it was a big deal. I still remember it's like, and it was mostly to like some sort of relative's house was the impetus of the vacation. So when I lived with my dad, and he wasn't the exact adventurous type. My mom was a little bit more, but still we would do more things, but still wasn't camping per se. So I'm glad, my wife got me really into camping, and I've camped with Tim before. Actually, Tim has a real funny camping story.
Oh God,
where he was nearly attacked in his tent by not a wild animal, but by a friend of a friend that came on the camping trip. Is kind of funny. So if Tim ever camps again, that would be real magic.
Yeah, I'll be traumatized for life. Yeah, we had somebody who took a few too many substances and wailed on my tent for a little bit, but that was a little scary.
We have a shirt. I should like send you guys a picture of the shirt of like.
Yeah, we made a shirt of it.
Yeah, of like Tim's like tent being.
Sounds great.
Attacked. Yeah, it's kind of funny, but
attacked by a human.
Yeah, it was funny because like I wish I was there for it. My wife Julie and I, we were actually going. I think we went to the restrooms to brush our teeth, and we came back and we see like the aftermath of it all, and the police like car was down at the end, and we're like, and it's funny. My wife goes, "Boy, I hope that's no one in our group." And sure enough, it was like
it was just me.
Yeah, it was.
Nobody was hurt. Nobody was hurt.
Yeah, but so that's kind of sorry, a little off topic there, but the camping kind of reminded me of the
well,
story.
At least it wasn't a hellbender.
No,
yeah, that would have been way worse.
Yeah, no, I think I would have rather had a hellbender with to deal with that because you guys seem cool. I think I could talk my way out of getting eaten. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, you just have to.
As long as you're not frightened,
right? You just have to not be scared.
No, I'd be like jamming to the music. You guys would like
right.
take me in as
a
pet.
Band.
Yeah, I'd be like a pet more than dinner. So I'm sure I'd be okay.
So you guys had alluded earlier that you're filming right now. What can you tell us about your next project? As much as you want to tell, don't feel obligated to tell more than you want to reveal.
So we're making now a movie. It's another one. As soon as we were done with Hellbender, we thought that was going to be our last movie as a trio before Zelda went to college. And we were driving to, I think, the city, and Zelda's like, guys, let's make one more movie before I go to college. And it was like, oh my God, that'd be great. And she said, I have an idea. And she laid out this idea. And it was like, as soon as she laid it out, both Toby and I were like, oh my God, that's perfect. And so what it is it's called Where the Devil Roams. It's set in the 30s. It's a family that's running in the carnival circuit, that's dying.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you've already won Tim over.
Oh my God. I love carnival
stuff.
Oh,
good.
And that it's a carnival. That's it.
Jeez.
You got him.
Yeah.
And what's fun is their side act is kind of artistic murder. And they run into some pretty bad problems, and it's up to the daughter to put the pieces back together to try to keep the family going. So it's Bonnie and Clyde meets Frankenstein with the grapes of wrath and a touch of
blah, blah, blah.
Something else.
we don't know.
Right. And when we put it together, we'll have that last little piece to the puzzle.
I love everything about that idea. I'm totally in.
There's not one thing I heard in there that I'm like, I'm like, okay, bring it on. Could you promise us it's like coming out like in a month? Or is that too tight of it?
I wish. We're loving shooting it. It's kind of like a movie that wants to be made. It's been just a real joy to make it. It's interesting because we want it to be really dirty. There's a lot of carnival movies, or there's a lot of we want this carnival to be muddy and smoky and dirty and rotten teeth and and so that's the fun challenge, is to try to capture the rough and readiness of what we think 1930s carnival would be like. And it's a lot of fun, and I hope we succeed because it's just been a joy. So I hope our joy comes across in the movie.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but I don't see how this is not going to be awesome. I know Tim and I will absolutely, knock on wood, knock everywhere. Because I know you've got Tim and I sold already on it for sure. We will absolutely. I already love it, and I didn't see a frame of it.
Good. Yeah, good. It's hilarious because we were talking to some kind of Hollywood person who was interested in working with us, and we were telling him that idea, and he's like, well, that's dead in the water. Nobody wants to see a movie from the 30s, right? He was like, you never do a period piece. That'll never make any money.
He's like, that's a definite fail.
And we were like, great, you know what? Sounds like that's something we should make. You stay away from it.
Exactly.
This Hollywood big shot, stay away from it, and the little us will try to do it. And
I mean, what about Nightmare Alley just came out? That thing that's totally.
Yeah, how'd you guys like that? What did you guys think of Nightmare Alley?
I absolutely loved Nightmare Alley. I absolutely loved it. I just love that whole time period. I love Bradley Cooper. I mean, anything set in that is probably it already has an advantage in my book, but I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a really romantic but brutal part of American life. And I thought that was a really fun movie for us to watch because it was so wonderfully produced. Like that was an exceptional production. And it was cool because Toby and I, when it first started, we were like, oh my God, maybe we shouldn't make a movie from the 30s. Look at that. Like they got an amazing carnival.
So intimidated.
And it was so scary. And then in about 10 minutes, I was like, wait a minute. Like, no, there's room for us. Like we're going to make a dirty movie. Like our movie's going to be just dirty. Their movie is like so well produced. It's so beautiful. Ours is going to be like ugly beautiful, you know? So,
ours is going to smell like BO.
I love it.
So you're doing the old school.
Yeah.
The old school smell-o-rama thing, right? Like
that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's awesome.
I remember my granddad used to take us to the state fair when I was younger, and you know he would let us do all the sideshow tents, all the most grungy, dirty, sawdust on the floor, babies in jars, any of that kind of stuff. And we absolutely loved it. So, I mean, I think as a kid, that got instilled in me.
Jars.
Well, whatever they
With
were.
With a smile on his face. It's just
babies in jars. Yeah. But I loved all that stuff. And I still love it. And I read books on it. And I watch movies about it. So they can't make enough 1930s carnivals movies to satisfy me. So that just sounds amazing.
Good.
Have you read Geek Love?
I have not.
You got to read it. You'll love it.
Okay, I will look that up after this.
It was written in the late 80s.
Okay,
Tim's
I will definitely do that. Yeah, I'm a reader, so I will definitely look that up.
Right. So finally, I mean, I know Tim and I could probably talk to you for another 7 hours straight if you guys stayed there talking with us because there's so much fun stuff and we just absolutely love you guys. But we want to finally give you guys the floor to let our listeners know where they can kind of follow you guys and like on social media or in a website so they can make sure they're up to speed on all your new projects and where they can find your other ones. So
sure. Our website is wonderwheelproductions.com, and you can access all our films on there or see trailers and like music videos as well. A lot of fun stuff on there. Instagram is adams.family.films. Twitter is adams_films. Am I missing it? Oh, I think that's it. And then we're all individually on Facebook.
Yeah, we're John Adams on Facebook, Toby Poser on Facebook. Zelda doesn't do Facebook, Lulu Adams does Facebook. And so, yeah, we love talking to people. We learn a lot, and we've made a lot of friends. We like social media. It's a good thing for people like us. You do make a lot of friends, make a lot of, I don't know, it's cool. A lot of artists out there that we like talking to.
Well, yeah, and I was so glad that I was able to find you guys and reach out to you because as soon as I saw this, Hellbender, I was like, I love this movie. And so I immediately, whenever I see a movie I love so much, I try and look up all the stuff. And then when I realized, like, I started seeing like that it was one family that made this and they've been doing it forever. And I've started reading all your story stuff. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Tim, you gotta see all this. This is crazy. We have to get them on the show somehow. And I was actually so afraid. I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna be so busy that everybody's reaching out to them right now. They want to see this. So, but I'm like, I'm gonna try anyway. Who knows? And so thank you. You guys have been like absolutely so gracious and And I know you guys have like this crazy schedule, and the fact that you were able to fit this in to chat with us, not once but twice, it was great. So
Our pleasure. We've loved. I know I speak for both of us. We've really loved talking to you both. It's been so much fun.
It really has. And after we got cut off because of the windstorm last time, I was like, oh man, that was like, I was having fun with that one. That's not the one I want to get cut off. I want to get cut off with that Hollywood guy. Why do we get cut off here? So that was pretty cool. So yeah, thank you guys for inviting us. So it's wonderful. And we'll see you next time, and we'll hopefully be talking Where the Devil Roams.
yeah.
All right, Brian. I thought that turned out great, despite all the technical difficulties. We made it through.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was definitely worth making sure that we got the completed interview when under better circumstances, to make sure that we could get it all, because it was like I absolutely love talking to them. We could have easily talked for another like 3 hours with them. I mean, that's it. We just as we tend to, because I think after we had like cut the interview, actually we ended up chatting for another like 10 minutes just to wrap things up, because they are just extremely talented, but also friendly and interesting people to talk to. So,
well, speaking of that, let's get right into their feature film, Hellbender. I believe they said it was their 7th feature film, and this is the one that Brian had, as we said in the interview, at the top of the interview, he had reached out to me and said, "Hey, you've got to watch this movie. Like, drop everything and watch this." And it was one that was on my list to watch because it looked interesting when I saw it on Shudder. So I did make it my next movie, and I was blown away. Brian, Brian's rarely wrong, and I think he would say the same of me, that when we see a movie that we think we kind of are tuned into what each other likes. And this one, without a doubt, was a great little slice of folk horror, which I'm all over folk horror right now. That's kind of that's the hype right now. So this fit right into that. This came out last year, directed by John Adams, Zelda Adams, and Toby Poser, starring Zelda Adams as Izzy, Toby Poser as the mother, Lulu Adams as Amber, and John Adams as the uncle. And the synopsis is very simple. A lonely teen discovers her family's ties to witchcraft. So this one is, we're not, I doubt we'll talk too much about it because we talked a lot about it in the interview. But this one, basically the rundown, and I can't remember. I'm trying to remember back what we said in the first half of the interview, which has been a couple of weeks ago, guys. So bear with me. So if I repeat anything that you just heard in the interview, bear with me. But this one's about really the mother-daughter relationship, and kind of an interesting concept about what happens when you have this mother who is a witch, for lack of a better term, a hellbender, and her daughter kind of coming of age, and what does that mean? And it brought to mind, and one of the things that I neglected to ask in the interview, but we've talked about this before on the show, Brian, is the fear that parents have of their children, which sounds funny. It sounds like why would you be scared of your child? But I think there's a deep-seated fear about mortality there, because you're seeing your replacement, and it kind of signifies that you're mortal, and that you're one day not going to be there. And from a positive aspect, you look at a child and go, oh, that's my legacy, that's what I've left behind. But from the darker aspect of it, that's what leads to a lot of depression. So I mean, after Anna was born, I went through a bout of depression that maybe was deep rooted in that, because you're suddenly hitting kind of like midlife, and realizing that your replacement is essentially shown up. Not that you don't love them completely, but I think it's like kind of on a subconscious level. So I really love that about this film, because I always find that concept really fascinating. You see it in a lot of movies, but I think it was really, really well defined in this movie. I mean, it was a central focus of this movie, and that kind of impressed me, because I sometimes see it and I kind of infer it, but this one was like blatantly about that, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and I think not to go into too many, like we said, too many details, because one, we don't want to spoil any of the wonders that you could discover from this movie on your own, but we did touch on some of it in the interview anyway. But yeah, I loved the fact that it was a folk horror. but with a very modern setting and modern I guess challenges thrown in there. And I love the way they handled the witchcraft in it. How it's not just like someone like spinning their hand or giving you a dirty look and things happen. It's like they show you how, like, they go into details on how if you want this to happen here, mix this, and just it's like it was interesting how, like, you had the mother-daughter relationship and how she was teaching her, but then like you said, there's that element of like, oh my god, though she could replace me. And there's also this natural thing of you want to protect your child. You don't want them to be be like affected by the outside world. And in this is like there's like double meaning for that. And and I think they and on top of it they add this amazing element of the band that the mother and daughter have, which actually is an actual legit band. You can get their stuff on iTunes, that they created and used for this film. And it's and it's like that's such a cool element too, because it's like one more it's one thing they could do together that kind of is their thing. Like, yeah, they could both they're both have to one's a witch, one has a tendency, but they're and they're isolated away, but yet they have this together. But like anything, as a young child grows older, they get more and more curious, and you can and here she is now a teenager, and once she gets a little taste of a normal life, well, the temptation just becomes too great and things happen. And I think it's just so well done. But what's amazing is it's the same. This whole family is all, or they're writing it, directing it to get it together, and they come up with such a great thing. And the acting just seems so natural and so, it's like they've been doing this for like 20 years, and it's a relatively small time. I mean, yes, I think she said like the first movie they did, Zelda, who played Izzy in this, was really young, right? I guess that was
she was like 6,
or something, and then it was Lulu, I guess, was the older daughter who played the friend in this. Was a little bit more involved, but the fact that like that like all of them had such an important touches on this makes it even more the qualities of this film come together, that shows that it was truly a collaborative effort that came out. That should be a lesson to any filmmakers, to show that, like, what? Listen to other people. In this, it's a family, so it's a lot easier. They all created together, but, you never know. The collaborative efforts work. They really could work, because this family has done amazing things. And the next movie, as they mentioned in the interview, it sounds just even more up our alley than this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm so glad I saw this. So I think it was Molly Henry, which is she's a blogger, and she's on Twitter. We follow her, and I think she's friends with actually Kim and Ket. They know her really well. She was the one that posted about it at first, and she's like, "Oh, Hellbender, this is so good," and I'm like, "Oh, I gotta see this," and then I noticed a lot of people were talking about it, because it was really, I think it hit a festival and did really well. So as soon as it hit Shudder, I jumped on it to watch it, and it blew me away. And I probably watched it like 4 or 5 times since. There's something so like just for lack of a better word, like just soothing about this movie. And it's when you think of the plot, it really shouldn't be a soothing movie, but there's something about, I don't know if it's just pure perfection of between the music and the acting and the set piece, and just the fact that it was done by like a small group is just even more astounding. It just makes you appreciate it way more. And I know it sounds like I rambled, but it's more so because I'm trying to avoid giving too many details. Yeah. Because I want people to watch it and enjoy it for what it is without totally giving you everything in it.
Yeah, I'll have a couple of comments. These aren't spoilers. I had 2 comments. One was the going back to the magic. It reminded me of a Dark song, which was from 2016. Yeah. If you remember a Dark song, that was about a woman who was doing a ritual to bring back and communicate with her dead son. But the magic in that one seemed so real. It seemed like what real, quote unquote, real magic would look like. And it was very intense. It was very raw. It was very physical. And that's kind of what the witchcraft in Hellbender reminded me of.
Oh, real quick. And it's funny because that and Hellbender are both movies that So that has the statistic of being a Kim and Ket featured film and one of our featured films.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. And then the second point I wanted to make was when we were talking about, this movie is a lot about, teenage rebellion and kind of an overbearing mother. But I thought it was fascinating that even though the mother is overbearing in terms of what she won't allow her daughter to do in this movie, from the outside looking in, it looks, overly strict, overbearing, but she never comes off as mean or evil. A lot of times when you see these movies about these controlling parents, they tend to be the bad guy. But Toby in this movie just never, there's always some form of sympathy for her. And she never seems to be, I never got the feeling of her as the bad guy necessarily, even though what she was doing was being, very restrictive to her daughter. And I thought that was a really tough balancing act, that you can still have sympathy for this woman who's basically not allowing her daughter to see friends or meet new people or go out of her little area. And I thought it was neat too that the Zelda's character in turn does not seem to have this animosity or real hatred. There's still that tight bond there with the band. You can tell there's still this love connection there, even though there's like kind of this conflict going on. So I think that's just part of being an actual mother-daughter. I think there's something there that you're seeing, that underlying love, which is good for the story. But I think that would be that would be really difficult to pull off with two strangers, trying to convey that same connection while also having this conflict on top of it. So I don't know. I thought that was cool. I think it's another strength of this family's movie making is they can do things with that chemistry that would be very difficult for other people to pull off. I think that's one of the things that's one of their ace in the hole. I think that's why they really have something special there.
But and not just chemistry acting, but chemistry in the filmmaking as well. It's the chemistry all around, and they are just, and they're just the cool. Like I said, I told them on there, I said if I wasn't the age I was at and I was much younger, I would be asking to be adopted by them because I mean, what great conversations they have about like what film they're going to do next, when most of my, conversations in my family were, trying to figure out dinner, so.
I mean, I can't get my kids to play a board game with me. I mean, my gosh, they're making movies together. I think that's awesome.
Well, they might get you might get into horror. Anna now a big fan. With Hertford, you may be able to get like something going with that film.
Well, that's one of the reasons I really want to go to this horror con at the end of May with Anna, because I think that could be like a good bonding thing. Like, she's really interested in it, and that might be something that we could hit the con circuit together. I think that'd be great. So that'd be fun.
And then she'll go up there with her little youthful sweetness and just say, "Excuse me, but could you come on my dad's podcast?"
Yeah, there you go. Here, ask Elvira to be on Daddy's podcast.
She'd say, "Oh, you're the lady of that book he reads."
Totally used by kids. Yeah, that's funny.
Hey, kids and dogs. That's why I'm gonna use Obi next time at the con. I'll bring him to the con.
Yeah, you bring Obi. Oh man, you have the perfect end. You could get anybody on the show with Obi.
Right? Yeah, we just go up and give them all that little that attention and that little face. Oh, forget it. We'd have the entire New Jersey Horror Con on the show.
All right, Brian. So what did you do for our beer pairing with this one?
Yeah, so oh my God, did I find literally, I think I've said this once before, but I think this may be the perfect
This is pretty good.
Beer pairing ever. So it's called Hellbender, which is a Hell's Lager from Hellbender Brewing Company.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's on the nose.
Yeah, I couldn't get much better than that. It's 5%. It's biscuity and yet super crisp flavor with a light noble hop character, fermented with German lager yeast and lagered for 6 weeks. Prost, it says at the end. So yeah, I mean, this movie deserves a perfect named beer, and and I think that'd be great to watch. I think with
nice,
watch a nice beer, sitting down and enjoying Hellbender.
Nice. Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, we have a new fan topic food question. This was a tough one. This is from David McHugh, Horror Mailman. And it is, where are some of the most unusual places you've been? And I figured I would start this off, Brian. I've got two.
Okay.
Now, I will preface this by saying that I don't do a lot of travel. I mean, the travel I've done has been into pretty much very touristy places. You know, I've been to San Francisco for work. I've been to, obviously, theme parks everywhere, Disney World primarily, Universal Studios. So, I mean, those would not be unusual places. Those are places where millions of people have been. So I can't really claim, I don't have enough travel under my belt to really claim I've been to anything really super unusual. I would have to say, probably maybe one of the most unusual for the horror podcast is one I've talked about on the show before. And that was when we stayed at the Martha Washington Inn. Stayed in the room 403, which is supposedly the most haunted. Ken was with me on that trip, so he could tell you all about that one. So that one I would say was pretty unusual. The only other one I could think of, I was trying to think of places that not a lot of other people have been. And what came to mind was some of the back lot tours we've done of various roller coasters. Because those were very specific.
I might have to share that one with you.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think myself. I know.
You know, we've done some tours at Holiday World. I did a tour at Carowinds for Fury 325, where we got to go in places that are typically off limits to everybody.
And we got the Mystery Mine one at Dollywood.
Yeah,
remember we were right underneath the shack.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, those are places that unless you are on a tour that usually for a specific coaster event or club, you would never get to see those places unless you either worked there or you were trespassing, jumping a fence or something. Yeah. So I can definitely say I've got some absolutely wonderful pictures that I really treasure of being, you know, literally feet underneath a roller coaster track that nobody in the world would ever be allowed to go. But I was able to do so because we were on a guided tour and everything. So I think those would probably be the most unusual for me.
Yeah, I had trouble with this one because I know I'm forgetting some, you know, because probably, you know, there's a lot of the stuff I go to very, you know, pretty much tourist locations, you know, and I'm trying to stick away from just like museums, you know, stuff like that. I mean, well, one I could think of is there is I don't know if it's there anymore. It's kind of it's in New York City. I don't think we took you there, but it's it was on somewhere down in the I'm gonna butcher the location. I'm sure. I want to say East Village, but I don't think it's actually in the East Village. But it was called the Lebowski store. It was literally a little store themed to the Big Lebowski.
Oh, wow.
But you know, it also had a lot of cool like other pop culture collectibles. But I remember, I think it was Cone took us there the first time as Julie and I went there. And but I thought that was unique, that in fact that like literally a store could just be like Lebowski. But I mean, I guess another place that you and I both went to, we took you and Olivia there, was it was that PDT place, which is kind of unusual in many ways, where it's you know, it's basically you go into Criff Dogs, which is on St. Mark's Street, and inside the phone booth, I mean, you really need a reservation for this place. And you go through the phone booth, you let them know you're there, and the back wall of the phone booth opens up, and it becomes a little speakeasy. And you go in there, and they have these. There's this amazing mixologist in there that makes these really like cool and elaborate drinks. And it's like I think the bar holds 40 people, really tiny. And that's it. That's all, you know, it's like there's no like standing room only. So they allow the exact amount of people in there so you can have a table or a seat at the bar. And it's just, I think that's kind of cool, you know, just because of the whole interesting element of it, you know, how you would go, you know, how you're literally like standing there and, you know, in one little dive hot dog place. And then next thing you know, you're in this really cool, like swanky little tiny.
Oh, and not only that, the thing I loved the most about it was the people waiting in line to hopefully get in. And you just walk past them and pick up the phone and they open the door for you because you had reservations. And all these angry people glaring at you in line from the phone booth as you walk past them. I love that part.
Yeah, that is cool. Oh, another thing we could kind of mention. I don't know how it's the most unusual, but remember that, and it was something. It was funny that, like, you've lived in Wilmington all your life and had never gone. That little weird museum thing we went to. Remember we were all down there for Kevin's wedding.
Oh yeah.
And I can't remember the name. We let the girls go off shopping and to the bars, and we took the Joshua and Anna. Remember, you, me, Chris Rankin. We took Joshua and Anna and went to the to that little museum there where it had like the weird like laser game and that coffin ride.
Yeah, it was a coffin ride. Yeah, I mean, and then there's a lot of places in Wilmington. I guess you could technically say were unusual, like obviously the Battleship.
Oh right, yeah.
Even though it's a tourist attraction, how many people can say they've been in the belly of a World War II era battleship? I think that's a pretty cool place, and I've been in. Growing up here and having explored that thing all my life, I've probably been in areas of that ship that people can't even go to now because they've roped them off or whatever. So yeah, you could make an argument for something like that. So yeah, I mean, I guess we came up with a pretty good.
I will say one final one, totally not horror related at all, but it's kind of interesting. So it's I think its official name is the Pollock Krasner House. It's in East Hampton, and so I guess it was at one point Jackson Pollock had lived there, and so I guess in the back garage of this estate there was, I mean, it was I guess a little like a barn or some kind of a separated house section or something. But I guess for years they had it covered, and when they uncovered the floor, they found a Jackson Pollock like painting basically underneath there. It was something he did, so it was so it's cool. And what's neat is Julie's a big Jackson Pollock fan. They basically give you these like slippers, and you can walk on it. So it's like you could actually stand there like he did, like on top of the painting, which I thought was cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So one more I'll mention, which is cool. This is, I don't know how unusual it is, very touristy, but it's one of the most fun and unusual museums I went to, and that was the Boston Tea Party Museum, obviously in Boston. But what was neat about it, so when you go in there, they basically, it's one of these really interactive museums where you start off in this like courthouse room, and certain people get picked, and I didn't even realize, but somehow I got handed a card where you're a character, so I had to shout out a line in the middle. They do like this sketch in the beginning, and I had to shout out something about "you can't take away our playing cards" or something like that, because I guess they were trying to take everything away.
Oh yeah,
so
they're taxing.
So it's like, but you don't know who's going to get the card that has to shout it out and stuff. But I think it was kind of Julie and her parents kind of thought it would be funny if I were part of it. So of course, I was. But then you went in and you do so different things. It was really high tech museum. Like there's one of those things where it's kind of like the Harry Potter ride, that immersion technology.
Yeah,
where it looks like 3-dimensional video projection, and it looks like they're really standing there. But the coolest part at the end is you go out onto the ship, and you actually get to throw a fake box of tea into the harbor.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, so that was fun, because you literally just throw a box into the thing, and then they pull it back up. But I thought that was kind of cool, and that was one of my. It gets unusual. Usual doesn't have to be spooky, and usual doesn't have to be unheard of. It just has to be unusual, and to me that was a very unusual level of interactivity for a museum, I think. So that was kind of cool.
That's a great one. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this episode and this interview, and we will be back here next week. We'll definitely do that Toby project.
Yeah, that'll definitely be there. We're not sure about the main movie yet, but the Toby ones will definitely be there.
Yeah, so we'll talk to you soon,
and see you later.